right, good morning everybody.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to our third lesson on the muscular system. So today we have quite a bit of things to go over. So firstly we're going to review what we learned last class, see if you remember. It was yesterday, so you should be pretty good on that. But we're going to go over some ways that muscles are named, and then some major muscles of the body, so the upper body and the lower body. And then we're going to do a fun little labeling activity, and then we are going to have our game at the end of the lesson. Okay, so does anyone remember what the three different types of muscle contractions are? Yes, Riley.
Concentric, isometric, isokinetic, I think, maybe.
You have two of them right. The concentric and eccentric are a type of which contraction?
Lengthening, shortening.
They do both. Concentric shortens, eccentric lengthens, but those are isotonic contractions. Yeah, so those three right there. And then, do you guys know any of the names of the muscles that we might go over today? So what kind of muscles do we already know about?
Gluteus maximus.
Very good.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Biceps.
Biceps.
Triceps.
Triceps. Yep, those are very well known, right? Talk about those all the time. We like to flex our biceps, do a lot of cool things. And they're used a lot in a gym type of setting, and I know we have a very active class in here, so we do like to go over that kind of stuff. Okay, so naming muscles. So muscles were named in ways that people are able to identify them very easily. So the first one we have is size, like Brendan mentioned, we have gluteus maximus, but there's also a muscle called our gluteus minimus. And if you had to guess, gluteus minimus is probably smaller than gluteus maximus, just because maximus indicates that the muscle is going to be a little bit bigger. We have our shape, so our deltoid, we're going to go over that later, that's our shoulder muscle. That one, kind of like a triangular type shape. Number of origins, so we talked about biceps and triceps. We're going to talk about why they're called biceps and why they're called triceps later. Action, so flexor digitorum superficialis, that is going to be in our forearm. And then the action would be the flexor, so it's going to be flexing, so it helps our wrists a lot. Location of origin and insertion, we are not going to be going over origin and insertion too much today, but basically that is where our muscles connect to our bones through the tendons. So in this one, we're going to be going over this one very soon. It's the sternocleidomastoid. And then the sterno is where it connects to our sternum. Mastoid connects to our mastoid process. And then the direction of muscle fascicles. If you remember in lesson 1, we talked about muscle fascicles. Those are those groupings wrapped in the paramecium. And then we have the transversus abdominis, which we're going to go over also later. Okay, so muscles in the upper body, we're going to go over a few. So our neck muscle is our sternocleidomastoid. On 3, you're going to say it with me. 1, 2, 3.
Sternocleidomastoid.
Very good. You can say Cleido, like Riley said it. I say Cleido personally. You can say, like a lot of people pronounce muscles differently. You pronounce it however you want. I've heard it different ways, but I just prefer to say sternocleidomastoid. Our shoulder muscle is our deltoid, that one right there. Our deltoid has 3 different areas, our anterior, lateral, and posterior deltoid. And then we also have, there's a lot of muscles in our chest, but our major chest muscle is going to be our pectoralis major. A lot of people refer to them as the pecs, right? When we do our bench press, that's what we're trying to work and get bigger. But yeah, and moving on, we have our biceps and triceps. I believe it was Jonathan and Riley that mentioned those, the ones that we already know about. So our biceps, where we talked about the number of origins. So biceps, does anyone know what the word bi means? 2. Very good. Yeah, so our biceps are going to have 2 heads. I don't know if you can see it that well here. but this one is going to be the biceps, the long head, and this one is the short head right here. And then with our triceps, do we know what tri means?
4.
3. Very close. 4 would be quad. But yeah, so we see here the long head right here, lateral head, and then medial head right in the middle. Yeah, so 3 of those. And then we're going to go over some core muscles. So we know them as our abs, but that one right in the middle is our rectus abdominis. So we all have this ab muscle that looks like that. Sometimes it's a little bit more prominent in some people than others, but that's okay because we all have them. They're all there somewhere. And on the sides we have our obliques. So there's 3 different types of obliques. We have our external, so those are going to be the ones that you see right on the outside. So those are these ones right here on your right. And then internal is going to be underneath, so those ones are actually going to be going upwards a little bit. And then our transversus, the one that I talked about earlier, when we were talking about the direction of the fascicles, those ones are going to be going straight across our body. Yeah, so there's also a lot of muscles in our back. We might see a few of them later or hear about them, but the main ones we want to know about are the trapezius, so that one's going to be right up here, right next to your deltoid, like right on here. They might be really sore if you press on them. I know mine are. And then our big one on our back is our latissimus dorsi. Some people say dorsi, I say dorsi. But the interesting one about this one is it actually looks like, if you can see here, that it almost connects on your arm, which is weird because when you lift it up, you're like, it's not really connected to my back. But if you feel here, you might be able to feel the lat muscle a little bit. But it's actually going to go all the way down your back and connect to your hip bone muscle right down here, or your pelvic bone. And it's also going to reach all the way across and connect to your spine. So that's a huge muscle in our back that people know as the lats. You might work on the lat pull down in the gym. That's what that one's for. But yeah, so now we are going to move on to muscles in our lower body. So firstly, we are going to be talking about our quad muscles, or kind of the muscles that are in our thigh. So how many muscles do the quadriceps have?
4.
Yeah, very good. So we have 4 muscles. So when we're talking about the quad muscles, the big one that's right in the center is called our rectus femoris. So if you know anything about bones, this muscle right here is the femur. So when you think about femoris, think about it's right along that femur right there. The vastus lateralis is going to be to the outside of our thigh. That's why it's referred to as lateralis, so it's lateral. The vastus medialis is going to be inside the rectus femoris, so it's medial in the middle. And then our vastus intermedius is going to be directly under our rectus femoris, so right in there. And then just this one fun one is the sartorius. So it's this green muscle right here, if you want to take a look. But the sartorius is actually the longest muscle in our bodies. So it starts right around that really bony part of your hip, and then it goes across the leg and connects at the back of the knee. So it comes all the way across our legs. But yeah, so now we're going to go over the hamstrings. This one might be a little hard to guess how many muscles are in the hamstrings. Yeah, very good. So if you can't know how many muscles are in the hamstrings, you might not know just because it doesn't really tell you by the name of it, hamstrings. I don't know what word means 3 in there. But yeah, so we have our biceps femoris, so that's going to be this reddish muscle right here. So it's actually a little bit more to the inside, the medial side of our thigh. And then we have semitendinosus and semimembranosus. So the semitendinosus is going to be that blue muscle in front right here, just kind of right next to that biceps femoris. And then our semimembranosus is going to be that green muscle right underneath our semitendinosus. So how how many origins, or how many numbers of origin do you think the biceps femoris has?
Two.
Yeah, exactly. So, like we recognized earlier with our biceps, this also has the word biceps in there, because it does have two heads. So it has our long head and a short head right there. So it's telling you how many heads it has, and then femoris is kind of telling you kind of where it's located on your leg. And then, as Brendan mentioned, we're going to go over the glute muscles. So, and more informally, your butt muscles. Yeah, so the gluteus maximus, it is the largest muscle in our bodies, area-wise, I guess. So of course, it's right there. Don't really have to describe it too much. But then the glute muscles also have two other muscles. They're our glute medius. On your left here, it's going to be right above that glute maximus. So if you want to feel around, feel your pelvic bone, that one right up there. That's kind of where your glute medius is going to be. And then if they were to cut me open, take out these two muscles, glute medius and glute maximus, you'd find my glute minimus right underneath, pretty much kind of underneath the glute medius and glute maximus. Kind of, that's that muscle right over there. But as you can see, there's other muscles in there as well. As I mentioned, there's over 600 muscles in the body, so we're just going to go over the major ones today. And lastly, we have our calf muscles. So there's just two that we're going to be aware of today. So we have our gastrocnemius and our soleus. So has anybody performed calf raises before or seen people do calf raises? So have you ever seen someone do a calf raise and like their calf muscle looks like it's about to come out of their muscle or their leg?
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, it looks kind of freaky sometimes, right? So that's their gastrocnemius that's pointing out of there. But yeah, it really contracts in those calf raises, makes it look a little interesting. But again, if someone were to cut me open, take off my gastrocnemius, they'd find my soleus right underneath it. But yeah, so that was really quick, but that's all of our muscles that we're going to be going over today. But very quickly, we have a little labeling activity for you guys. So if you can, just fill those out really quickly. If you want any extra credit, I would recommend maybe looking for other muscles that we went over today. And writing those down as well. If you can't get all of them, that's okay. In a couple minutes here, we're going to start our game. I'll give you guys about 20 more seconds to fill it out. Alright, just focus your attention back to the front of the class really quick. So how many got all the muscles they think written down? Awesome. How many have most of them written down? That's okay. We went over them really fast today, but we're going to do hopefully a little review activity with our game that will kind of hammer home the idea of where those muscles are in our bodies. So we're going to get into our game.
Foosball.
No,
Oh.
it's just the graphic.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're going to be playing a spin the wheel game. So because We have low numbers today. We're just going to be doing it individually. Ideally, if we had more people, we'd be doing them in partners. But I'll be spinning the wheel. It will land on a muscle. Whoever's turn it is to answer, they will point to the area of their body where that muscle is. If you're not exactly right, like say you have, I don't know, the sartorius, and you just point here, and I'm like, well, it's not really there. You can move it over a couple inches. Not really fair. So I'll just probably just give it to you if you're in the right ballpark. And when you're going, you can't get help from anyone else. You must do it yourself. If you're correct, you get a point. If you're incorrect, someone else has the opportunity to steal and get that point themselves. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna have Jonathan go first.
Yeah, Jonathan.
Okay, I'm just gonna move it here so you can read. Okay, rectus femoris. Do you know where that is?
That's the abs.
Oh, that's really close. Unfortunately, it's not correct.
Oh, I think I know where that is
You
now.
wanna try again, really quick?
You said it's really close to here?
It's close in that you have the name, the first part of the name. You have the idea.
Oh, okay,
Femoris.
that's like right here?
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Very good. Rectus femoris is part of our quadriceps. Okay, so that, and Brendan. Biceps femoris.
No way. It's in the legs. I don't know exactly where it is.
Mm-hmm. Which do you think it's in our quads or hamstrings?
I'll say quads.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's incorrect.
Oh.
Riley, do you want to steal? Yep, biceps femoris is going to be on the back side. The rectus femoris is in front. Biceps femoris on the back, kind of along the femur. But very good try. And Riley. Serratus anterior. I did not go over this muscle. There are a few of those in this game. But if you were paying attention, I did have it labeled in one of the pictures in the lecture.
Ooh.
If you don't know where it is, you can just take a guess. And just point somewhere. You might be right.
Isn't it that like seatbelt thing that goes and like connects to
Nope.
the hand?
That's the sartorius. Jonathan, do you want to try and steal?
I think it's like up here by your like shoulder. It's like kind of like right there.
You're closer, but not quite. Brendan, do you have a guess?
You got this.
You don't know, that's okay.
No clue.
Alright, so our serratus anterior is going to be along our ribs. They actually
Oh.
cover our ribs and protect them. In between our ribs, we have our intercostal muscles.
Oh.
But yeah, very good try,
I
guys.
need to drop out of school.
Okay. Back over to Jonathan.
This is my password from 2011.
Pectoralis major.
Well, there's a minor and there's a major. The major's like the main part.
Yeah, it's right there. Very good. Good job.
Nice.
Brachioradialis. I didn't go over that one. If it helps you at all, the biceps are called the biceps brachii.
Here we go.
Yeah, you're actually really close. I'll actually give that to you. It's right about here on your arm. It's on your quads. Since we didn't go over it, don't expect you to exactly know where it is. But external obliques. Very good. Nice job. Okay, we'll do one more round of muscles.
Washboard abs.
kind of like, I'm thinking that's like kind of like your like inner part of your leg.
You know what, I'll give that to you. It's the outer part of your leg, right
So
here.
it is,
But that was very close. Very good guess. Do one, two more. Sartorius.
That's the one that comes across and loops around.
Yep, very good. Exactly. Okay, and last muscle. Ooh, masseter. I did not go over this one.
Ambassador, Massachusetts. Isn't it like in the cheek here?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
your two muscles. They're right here.
Nice job,
Very good.
Ryan.
It
Yep.
looks like the state
Awesome.
of Massachusetts.
Alrighty, well, that is it for today, you guys. Thank you very much for listening and following along, and I will see you next class when we're going to talk about some ways that we can train our muscles and use them.